What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, man. About to react to this Legend of Winning. 5 things we learned from the 2020 NBA offseason. Let's
NBA
get it.
season
Let's
starts in the next
go.
10 days, and I felt like this is the perfect time to really wrap up everything that we've learned in the off season. And as I wrap up the more important things that we've learned, this also
Giannis
allows us to
Antetokounmpo.
set expectations for some of these teams, the conferences, and players in this upcoming season. Now, if you enjoyed this type
I
of
would edit
content,
that
make
out,
sure
but
you
I
leave a
forgot
comment in the
that.
comment section below so we can continue this
That was a
conversation.
tough shot,
Also hit
man.
the thumbs up, but most importantly, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be updated when I drop these videos. So first, let's talk about the Houston Rockets, and I honestly believe this has been the biggest story all throughout the shortened off season. After having one of the more successful runs in the past decade, the Houston Rockets are finally moving in a different direction, and it isn't just with their personnel. In the beginning of the offseason, general manager Daryl Morey, after nearly 15 years with the organization, decided to part ways. Around that same time, head coach Mike D'Antoni also departed from the franchise, and following those decisions, both James Harden and Russell Westbrook decided to request a trade, which could be problematic for the Houston Rockets because as they reside in the Western Conference, that means that it's much more difficult to make the playoffs, and this is an organization that just the year prior gave up some draft assets to receive Russell Westbrook. Eventually, the front office in Houston finally found a situation for Westbrook and traded him to the Washington Wizards, and in return received John Wall in a draft pick, as well as making some other decisions throughout the offseason that could potentially bring some optimism to a franchise that is looking to rebuild in the near future. But we're only at the surface of the major problem here, because after a very successful run, James
Rockets are in a bad spot right now, man. If Harden don't even want to play for y'all, bro, like, you gotta think about it. This dude has the potential to be an all-time great, but if he gets out this thing ringless, you know what I'm saying?
Harden has not only found himself demanding a trade, but also highly upset with the front office, despite the fact that throughout his tenure in Houston,
you do not want to trade away a franchise all-star superstar player like ever. You never want to do that, you know, because it could be another 10, 20, 30 years till you get another one. Mostly 10 to 20, 15, until you get a star even. You know?
He has okayed and approved several transactions and roster changes to this organization. And here we are now, and the Rockets still have not traded him. Now, that is not to say that there aren't any suitors out there for James Harden. There are several teams that are willing to give up anything to bring on a player of Harden's caliber. The only problem is that the Houston Rockets want to make sure that they get something of value in return. Now, allegedly, the Houston Rockets are targeting the Philadelphia 76ers in hopes that in return they will receive either Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons. So the transition from being a title contending team to a rebuilding one will be as smooth as possible. But regardless of what Houston will receive for Harden,
bro, if I was the 76ers, bro, I would trade Embiid for Harden. It's hard to picture either Ben Simmons or Embiid in a different jersey, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, it's hard to even picture
because we're talking about a team that is out west, and more than likely, at best, we're talking about an organization that will be revamping, not potentially doing a complete rebuild. More than likely, the Rockets will be a worse team than they have been in the prior years, which is a shame because we are talking about an organization that has been really consistent when it comes to just making the playoffs and being a title contender over the past 3 to 4 years. Speaking of the Sixers, I do believe that's a great transition to talk about what exactly has happened in Philly, because looking at the decisions that have been made with that front office over the past couple of months, it is very clear that this year could potentially be the last season that we see of the quote-unquote process. After deliberately losing and tanking for 4 straight years, as well as a few underwhelming seasons since we have seen both Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid participate with one another on the court, it is clear that the Sixers need some type of direction, and it is uncertain to what exactly is holding them back from that. Because of this, Philly has made some drastic changes to their organization, and it isn't just with the personnel. They brought in Daryl Morey from Houston to fill in an executive role position in their front office. They also decided to part ways with Brett Brown as a head coach and bring in Doc Rivers, and they also decided to revamp their roster. Even though you can make an argument that talent-wise they may have gotten worse by departing from both Al Horford and Josh Richardson, bringing in both Danny Green and Seth Curry into the starting lineup gives them a defined offensive system that will clearly center around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid receiving the most spacing that they probably have ever seen since the earlier years of them being together. And because of this, all of the variables that could have swayed anyone away from coming to the inevitable conclusion that these two stars cannot coexist with one another no longer exists with this team. And so if the Philadelphia 76ers cannot meet expectations, which in my opinion should be a third seed in the Eastern Conference and really competing for a conference final.
I would say the Bucks, Heat, and the Raptors, right? In some order. I don't know if it's going to be in that order. But then again, the Raptors lost Ibaka and Gasol. That is two huge blows to their team, man. I don't know if they're going to be a top 3 seed, actually. So it probably is the Sixers sliding into that third spot. Wait, did I say Bucks, Heat, and Celtics? So that should be the top 3, right? Yeah, I don't see the Sixers as being better than the Celtics. I mean,
Finals appearance, I do believe that the Sixers will see a drastic change in the near future with parting ways with either Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons. Up next, we have a team that could potentially keep the Philadelphia 76ers from meeting those expectations, and that team are the Milwaukee Bucks, who are in a situation where more or less this upcoming year is a championship or bust season. Milwaukee, unlike prior years in franchise history, have found themselves in a situation where they are one of the more relevant teams in the NBA. A huge reason for this has to do with their franchise player in Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Oh, look at that.
Relevant teams in the NBA. A huge reason for
Christian Wood, bro. Inspirational, man. Look at this dude, Christian Wood. He was getting no playing time with the Bucks. He came to the Pistons, man. And Thon Maker, they both came to the Pistons. And Thon Maker didn't do good on the Pistons. He was booty hole juice. But Christian Wood, man.
For this has to do with their franchise player in Giannis Antetokounmpo, but that level of relevancy could evaporate by the end of the year, depending on where the Bucks finish off in the postseason. And the reason for this is because Giannis is on the last year of his contract. To address this potential problem, the Milwaukee Bucks have decided to make some changes to their roster. The most noteworthy one is replacing Eric Bledsoe with Jrue Holiday.
Hold on, man. I'm making a video. What's up? Yeah. But guys, man, I don't know what it is about the Bucks, man. Like, I don't know what's wrong with their roster, or like what's the problem with their moves in the past seasons. Like, they need another star. That's plain and simple. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Middleton is not the second option for a championship team. They need another go-to scorer, and yeah, that's about it. There's nothing really they can do at this point. They have no good young players. They have no picks. They have no draft assets. They really have nothing.
Today, who should be able to duplicate the defensive productivity from Bledsoe while being a noticeable improvement on the offensive end. The Bucks also attempted to add even more firepower to their offense this offseason by going after Bogdanović, but unfortunately that acquisition fell through. And allegedly due to the failed acquisition, there are some reservations from Giannis to sign a massive extension to the Bucks. But in my opinion, that isn't the biggest headline heading into this upcoming year in Milwaukee. Through my lens, what's much more important is the development of Giannis and what we can expect from him entering this upcoming year. Because up until this point, Giannis has had a very unconventional path to stardom. Due to this, placing expectations on Giannis has been fairly difficult within the past several years. Due to this, placing expectations on Giannis has been fairly difficult within the past several years. However, this year is a bit different. Giannis is coming off of a season in which he not only won league MVP for the second consecutive season, but also won Defensive Player of the Year. He also led the Milwaukee.
I kind of like the Defensive Player of the Year for him. It's kind of random, you know. Like usually they go to like an only defense guy like Ben Wallace and Draymond Green and Rudy Gobert. and Rudy Gobert, bro. But like Giannis is like an MVP player and he's a defensive player. Like I like that.
The Bucks have not
I don't
only
know
the
why.
best record in the NBA, but one of the best regular seasons in franchise history. But unfortunately, the record in
You
the
just said, Doty,
NBA, but one of
why
the
do they
best
got this
regular
number
seasons in
12 dude
franchise
wearing
history.
Dwight
But
Howard's number
unfortunately, the result in
trying to
last year
guard
was an
Giannis
underwhelming
anyway?
performance from Giannis in the
It
playoffs
felt
that
disrespected
concluded
that
with a
they
second
even
round
tried
exit.
that.
And now that
That's
we're
what
at
I
a point
said.
where we
I'm
all
kinda
just
like,
expect
man.
Giannis to be an MVP candidate on a year-to-year basis, lead his team to one of the best records in the NBA, and having phenomenal statistical year during the regular season, the next step in stardom, especially when it comes to putting your name amongst other all-time greats, is producing in the playoffs. And I do believe pushing for a
Did he get his
championship or at
contract
bare
yet?
minimum a finals appearance.
I mean, what kind of contract is he in? He's not in his rookie contract, is he? He was drafted in what, 2013? It's 2020, so he's probably in like his second contract. He had his rookie contract for 4 years. That went to 2017. And then he signed a 4-year deal, right? To go to 2021 next offseason? Yeah.
Should not only be mandatory for the Milwaukee Bucks,
Because I was going
but
to
also
say,
a
he
mandatory.
probably doesn't care that much. Like, he still cares a lot. But the main part is getting your money and getting your bag. Like,
Goal that
that's
should be
the most
set on
important.
Giannis as well. Then on the other
But
side of the bracket,
obviously,
we have the
he got
Los
his
Angeles
bag.
Clippers, and after a very disappointing season, a lot was revealed about this organization. First, after blowing a 3-1 lead and failing to make the conference finals yet again in franchise history, obviously someone had to be the scapegoat. This year it was head coach Doc Rivers, and the Los Angeles Clippers decided to move in a different direction with the head coaching position while promoting Tyronn Lue. Now, after that news broke, there have been several stories that have been released claiming that both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard received preferential treatment from the front office, which normally is
Really?
pretty common in the NBA. However, the preferential
Really?
treatment was pretty extensive to the point where Kawhi would make various demands, and also it was deemed acceptable for him to show up late to either
Kawhi, when you gonna
practices
give up
or
your
even
praise,
to
bro?
some
When you
games.
gonna give it
Because of
up?
the preferential treatment, it
He's
was
gonna have
alluded
him
that it
your
was
entire
really
career.
hard for these star players to build some
He ain't had
chemistry
played
with
one
some of their
game
supporting
without praise.
cast pieces. And speaking
That
of
boy
which,
go to
one of
his
the more
auntie house
productive
every
supporting cast
day
members for the
to get
Clippers in
fresh
Montrezl
braids.
Harrell, who won Sixth Man of the Year last season, made his way to the rival team with the Los Angeles Lakers in free agency. And if that wasn't enough, recently Paul George in an interview where he outright stated that Doc Rivers did not use him correctly, and further alluded that Doc Rivers did not make the proper
said that in the
adjustments
interview?
for them to win the Denver Nuggets
Bro.
series. So yeah, that is a lot. And if you pair that
I
with
guess-
us understanding that the Lakers just got better this
he's on a
offseason,
different team,
the
so
Denver
it's
Nuggets
okay.
more than likely will get better due to the experience that they have with one another, and even the Dallas Mavericks have made some adjustments to their roster that personally I am favorable of. Honestly, it will be very interesting to see what the Clippers will accomplish this upcoming season, because at this point, if last year wasn't a championship or bust season, it definitely feels like this year is. And then finally, we actually have
Yeah,
legitimate.
It is. It's
Then-
championship or bust season for them, but they're not going to win the championship. Plain and simple. Like, come on now. The Lakers are going to win it. Either the Lakers or the Heat, bro. I can't see the Clippers winning it. I just can't see it. Like,
8th seed in both conferences.
I don't see
Now,
it.
normally this would not really matter. However, after last year's massive success with the play-in tournament, the NBA is going to duplicate that and bring it into the upcoming year.
Clippers are just
And
not
I
a
honestly
franchise
believe
that's
it
meant
could
to
turn out to
win
be some of the most
championship.
entertaining
You know what I'm saying?
basketball
Like,
we may
it's just not
witness
meant to
all
happen.
throughout the year. In the Eastern Conference, both the Washington Wizards and the Atlanta Hawks have made major adjustments to their roster, and of course, the end result should be making the playoffs. And then in the Western Conference, it could be even better because you do have 10 teams who can make an argument to why they should expect to be in the playoffs. Teams such as the Memphis Grizzlies, the Phoenix Suns, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Minnesota
the Suns are
Timberwolves,
gonna make
and the Golden State Warriors. It's very clear the race for the 7th, 8th, and possibly even the 6th seed will be highly entertaining, and I can't wait to see what happens towards the end of the season, and of course, what's
man.
going to happen in
I
the
need to
play-in
make a
tournament.
predictions
But with that
video
being said,
because I think the Suns are gonna make it because Chris Paul, you know, whatever. I think the Suns are gonna make it. I think the Timberwolves are gonna make it, and I think that like there's no way Timberwolves cannot make the playoffs again after having the first pick in the draft. So I think that who's gonna slide out of the playoffs? I think the Who was in the playoffs? Who's the 8th seed? The win against the Lakers in the first round, right? Man, the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers are not gonna make it. Well, they might. I don't know. Anyway, that's for a separate video, y'all. This video is already kind of long, so I'll see you guys in the next video, man. Hope you guys like it. Make sure to drop a like and smash the subscribe button if not already, or don't, because I can't really control you. But I'll see you guys in the next video, man. Peace out. Hope you have a great day.